Hi, my name is Aaron Turner from One Thought, and this video is a bit about my experience of exams and what I've learned about the role of the mind in our experience of exams. So I can remember when I was coming up to my GCSEs and my experience of my GCSEs and my A levels of being really unpleasant. I felt a lot of pressure, I felt a lot of stress. I found it hard to concentrate. It was something that was, I don't know, it was really, really unpleasant. And I can remember as my A level exams started to get close, remembering my GCSE experience and thinking, oh my gosh, I'm really not looking forward to this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to go through this again, because the feeling of unease and pressure and stress was really extreme compared to the rest of my life. And I was thinking about it before making this video, and it's kind of funny because when I had exams at the end of my primary school when I was 11, I don't remember having any stress. The first stress in exams that I remember was my GCSEs. And what's interesting about it is, based on that experience, I also had a bad experience of my A levels, because in my mind I linked exams to the stress and pressure I felt in exams. And it wasn't until years later that I discovered that they're not actually linked. I just linked it in my mind, which is one of the things I wanted to talk a little bit about. So going into O levels, well, they were O levels in my time, but GCSEs and A levels, it felt really serious. And all of my thinking about it was really serious. And it made me feel frightened and anxious and insecure, and like there was a huge amount riding on it. And I didn't realize it was because of how I was thinking about it. I didn't realize it wasn't because the exams. I thought if I felt they were that serious, it must be because they were that serious. So I must be thinking about it the right way. And in a way, I didn't let myself think about it differently. But there were clues that I could have felt differently about my exams. And I'll tell you what the clues are. The first clue was that when I went into the exams, actually before that, so I would feel very pressured, very stressed. I'd kind of feel that uneasy feeling in my skin all through my revision. And that would only stop the night before the exam. And you say, well, that's a bit weird. If the exam's making me feel stressed because it's so important, surely I would feel that way until the exam was over. But that didn't make sense to me. See, it made sense to me to take the exam seriously and worry about it until the night before. It didn't make sense to me to worry about the exam the night before, because I thought when you get to the night before the exam, it's too late. There's no point worrying. So I didn't realize this, but in a way, I thought it made sense to worry before the exam. In a way, that was my way of taking it seriously. And I thought, if you're not worrying, you're not taking it seriously. But if you are worrying the night before, you're being silly. I made that up, but that's how I thought about it, because it made sense to me to worry before, but it didn't make sense to me to worry the night before, because the night before there's no point studying, there's no point worrying. The only thing you want to do is let your head clear so that your mind is free to focus on the exam and to use whatever you've learned and just let your mind help you. That's what made sense to me. So the night before, it was too late to worry, it was too late to study, it was too late to revise. You just had to let your mind make the best of whatever you'd learned. And as a result, I would be really pressured and stressed until the night before, and then I would stop and I would just forget about it, because in my mind it was too late to worry, and I would just feel completely at ease and completely peaceful and completely clear. And I would eat dinner feeling no burden, no stress, and go to bed and sleep really well and get up the next day and go to the exam. And I knew in an exam, I knew you don't want to listen to your stressed thinking. I knew that. So there's this moment in an exam where you don't know what the paper's going to look like, and you're sitting there waiting, and then it starts and you turn over the paper. And for me, there was this rush of stressed thinking. Oh, what's the first question? And I would look at the first question and I would know you have to ignore your stressed thinking, otherwise you can't read. You ever tried to read when you're stressed? It's like you have to keep reading the word, you just don't take anything in. And I knew that. So I would just ignore my stressed thinking and I would just read the question until I could read it calmly. And when I could read it calmly, I would get on with the exam. So I didn't have any stress in exams because I didn't listen to my worried thinking. And I had nothing but stress during my revision because I listened to my stressed thinking. Now, I didn't know I was doing that. I thought that I was just experiencing the stress of taking exams seriously. And I really thought that if I wasn't stressed, I wasn't taking it seriously. But I also knew if I was stressed, if I was worrying about it in the exam, I wasn't taking it seriously. So I had two different ways of taking it seriously. In an exam, don't worry. Before an exam, worry. But I didn't know I was doing that, so I couldn't change it. I was kind of victimized by my own idea of what made sense. And that didn't change until I was at university. When I was at university, it was so serious that I was just stressed out of my mind. My hair fell out, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't sit still, but I didn't realize it was coming from my mind. So I actually had a conversation with a psychologist because my mum was so worried about me. And the psychologist said to me, well, Aaron, do you think that your stress has anything to do with how you're thinking? And I thought for a moment and I said, no, it has nothing to do with my thinking. It's because it's the end of university and these exams determine the rest of my life. And I've worked hard for 3 years and I don't want to let myself down. And I felt really under pressure because of how important it was. And the psychologist said, well, do you think that how important you're making it is coming from your mind? And I said, no, it's coming from the fact that this is vital in my life. And I didn't get the chance to see that I was experiencing my own seriousness, my own worry. And it wasn't until after those exams, which again, I was saved by the fact that it didn't make sense to me to worry in the exam. So I was so stressed I can't even describe it to you until the night before, and then I was fine and I walked into the exam and I was clear-minded, and I would come out and then I would think, okay, what do I need to worry about now? And then I would go back into stress. It wasn't till after those exams that I started to learn about how the mind works, and I started to appreciate that I would feel whatever I thought. So if I started to worry, I would start to feel stress. And if I stopped worrying, that stress would go away, whether I had exams or not. And if I thought I had a good reason for stress, I would keep worrying, and then that feeling would get deeper and stronger. And I actually stayed at university to do a master's, and when it came time for my master's exams, I started to get that feeling about exams again. Oh no, I'm going to go through that hell. And then I thought, you know what? I'm not willing to go through that hell. I know that stress is the experience of me worrying. So what if I just don't listen to that thinking? I don't listen to it when I'm in an exam. So what if I just don't listen to it when I'm revising? I just revise, and I just don't get tempted to kind of stew on how serious it all is. Now, I knew that that was possible, but I thought that if you didn't take something seriously, you wouldn't do as well. But I was willing to sacrifice my grade in order not to suffer so much. So I just didn't listen to my stressful thinking. And as a result, my studying for my master's exams was not like exam study. It was just like normal study. I enjoyed it the way I enjoyed classes during the year and studying during the year. The second thing I learned, so I'd learned that I was experiencing my own worried thinking. The second thing I learned that just blew me away, I did just as well. I got the best grade you can get in a master's, and I wasn't stressed. And that showed me something new, which is not only you don't have to listen to your worried thinking, you don't have to listen to your serious thinking, so you don't have to suffer as much as I normally did. But then I learned that when I wasn't suffering, I did just as well, and that shocked me. I thought that stress meant you were taking it seriously, and you could only do your best if you were stressed. You could only do your best if you took something seriously. I didn't realize that I could have a clear mind and feel good and do just as well. So those are the two key things that help me with all my exam stress. One is the stress isn't coming from the exams, it's coming from the way I'm thinking, and that way of thinking is not something I have to do just because I'm doing exams. And secondly, that when I'm not doing that thinking, it doesn't make me do worse. I do just as well without all the stress and strain, or without as much of the stress and strain.